Hey guys, welcome to another Tea Time show. Really excited to have Mark Shaw with me today. We are talking all about Periscope. So in this show is really about kind of newbies like me, and lots of you know I do tons of stuff on social media, Google+, Twitter, etc. But I am very much a Periscope virgin. I've been lurking and watching. I've not shot one yet. So I've got a ton of questions, and we've had a few questions from various people and stuff as well, and we're going to handle those through the show. We were expecting Dustin Stout to join us, and he's been billed as joining us. He's not here yet, so I assume he's overslept, bearing in mind the time difference. He's in California, so maybe he'll join us. You'll have to watch and find out. Mark, welcome along. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you, Mark. Thanks for having me, and good afternoon, everybody.
Yeah, and yeah, I've got my cup of tea. I've got we got Homer Simpson. Well, Mr. Burns, I think it is. We got him back my tea today. So let's just dive right in. As I said, I kind of as soon as Periscope came on Android about a week or two ago, I kind of got the app and I started kind of watching a few things and kind of going, okay, I kind of see this. I see where it's going. But I guess the question for everybody and certainly for me is let's start with maybe a bit of background about you. You're kind of all over Periscope, and I've seen you doing tons of stuff and tweeting about it and everything. So maybe just explain who you are and what you've done so far with Periscope, and then tell us what Periscope is and what's in it for a business.
Okay, cool. So Mark Shaw, 7 years now. I've been on Twitter. I'd like to think one of the go-to guys for the BBC. They interview me all the time, written the book, speak all around the country, advise businesses and all that sort of stuff. So anything Twitter related. I got involved with Periscope literally 10 minutes after the app launched, and I've been the biggest fan, one of the biggest fans of it ever since. Done about 248 shows now in about 12 weeks it's been going, something like that. I think the rationale for me is I call it Twitter on steroids. That to me is my mindset around this. Okay, so that doesn't mean that I've abandoned Twitter, doesn't mean you abandon other social media platforms, but you now have a broadcast TV station in your pocket. And I don't think people really understand the implications of that. That means that you can attract a global audience from your kitchen, your lounge, your garden, wherever you are, small business, big business, in your garage, wherever you are. And you can start to share stuff that you would ordinarily share through Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and all those places, but now live. You're now streaming to a global audience, and essentially you're streaming for free. I know there might be a data plan involved or whatever, but most people now have an iPhone 5, 6 or whatever. Most people have 4G, Wi-Fi. So now the ability to stream all sorts of things and to watch all sorts of streams. Okay, so in terms of who's jumped on it, just about every celebrity has an account already. Every big brand, every big business. Doesn't necessarily mean they're using it yet, but they certainly have registered accounts. Justin Bieber's ready to go. Floyd Mayweather's ready to go. British Airways did their first stream the other day, and so on. So I think the first question is why is live streaming so sexy perhaps all of a sudden? It's not new. Okay, live streaming's been around 3 or 4 years. Other technologies, YouTube does it, Justin TV and Ustream TV and all these sorts of things. What Periscope have done that's different is, firstly, it's an app built around a mobile. Okay, so it's not PC based primarily, it's built to work on your mobile. So that's the first thing. Secondly, your grandma can set this up. It takes 3 seconds. You download the app, you hit a couple of buttons, and you're good to go. So that's really important. And thirdly, it's integrated with Twitter, which is hugely valuable. One of the things you asked me, Mark, is, talk about the sort of business angle to this. This is possibly the most important thing, is that because it's integrated through Twitter, when you do the headline of your show, let's call it a show for want of a better word, okay, that headline gets tweeted out, A, to your Twitter followers, and B, into the Twitter universe. If you therefore understand about using hashtags, which I know you do, Mark, and what's trending and what's popular through Twitter, suddenly now you can have a whole global audience who are searching on keywords, key hashtags, what's trending, who can now see you're going live on a show in your kitchen, and they very well might watch it on a PC or their phone. Suddenly, for no money, you will have massive exposure to the world. That is an incredible opportunity, whether you're an SME, one-man operation, big business, small business. That's unheard of. That's why it's going to be so popular.
Okay. I mean, this kind of surfaced for me just after I kind of saw the Meerkat thing start surfacing. And funnily enough,
Yes.
I think the first time I saw a post about that, I think it was Dustin actually, and I saw it on Google Plus. And do you know what? I saw it, and I kind of read a few words of that post. I think it was on Google Plus. It was like live video streaming Meerkat. And do you know what my first reaction was? That looks really cool. And my second reaction was, that's a rabbit hole I'm going to end up jumping into, and just you'll never see me for weeks because I'll just be messing about. So I kept seeing it popping up all over Twitter and everything. And then, of course, in the middle of that, it was kind of, hang on a minute, there's Periscope, and this was all brand new. Well, okay, these kind of two things happened. Have you done much with Meerkat? I mean,
okay, so Meerkat launched when I was in India. I was in holiday in India through most of February and March. It launched literally one day before I was coming back, so I couldn't really get going. I was in Mumbai at the time. Okay, I got back and literally Periscope launched the day after or 2 days after. Okay, and I dived on Periscope literally 10 minutes after it started. I'm a massive Twitter fan, and to be fair, I've never used Meerkat. I personally think it's incredibly difficult to grow a following, whichever platform you're on, to be on two platforms very identical in most sense. Okay, live streaming, I think it's going to be nigh on impossible. So I elected to go with Periscope, and I have some reasons behind that, but no, I haven't used Meerkat.
No, okay. Nor me. I just wondered if you'd seen the kind of difference between the two.
Oh, I certainly in terms of the differences, yeah, But what's really cool in a way is that firstly that there are two players in the live streaming platform world, because there are two, it means that they have features and they have to up their game, and that sort of stuff. So I think it's good there are two players. There are certain things about Meerkat. For example, one, Meerkat doesn't save any of your streams. Okay, completely. You finish, doesn't save. Periscope saves it for 24 hours. That's one major difference. Okay. Two, there are other things around the Meerkat platform. You can schedule with Meerkat in advance. You can't do that at the moment with Periscope. So what I see is they have certain things. Periscope clearly though has something much different, which is instant access to who you follow on Twitter, who gets the app. They turned that off with Meerkat. They had it on for a while, and then as soon as Periscope got launched, they chopped off the social graph for Meerkat, and now you don't get that. So two players I think is great. Subtle differences between the two. You might want to try each one for yourself to work it and so on. I personally have gone with Periscope, and I personally think in terms of live streaming and all the benefits you get, I think Periscope will ultimately win the game because they're in Twitter's playground. And whatever happens, unless Meerkat go down a Facebook road or whatever, who knows what's coming, but at the moment I think Periscope will win that day.
Sure. Okay. Good stuff. So I think you covered it a little bit, but maybe you can give us a couple of examples. But who should be using Periscope and what for? I mean, it's obviously live streaming, but what sort of businesses? I mean, are you coaching people on this? Are you working with businesses to kind of help them get started?
Yes. Okay. So
what sort of businesses and what sort of things should they be streaming about?
Okay.
Or scoping about. Scoping.
So the first thing I think is that to understand is that Periscope gives people access to things to you. Okay. So this really is P2P, person to person. Okay, so the sort of things you want to be sharing are things behind the scenes, access to rooms that you can't normally get to, showing your staff, showing you, but you can also start to share the vision, the passion, the ideas. How did you come up with the business? How are you doing things? What's the plans? What's the future? Getting feedback. One of the key things about Periscope is that although you are video streaming one way, comments are coming in. Text comments. Okay, so you do get a sense it's a two-way street, and I would encourage people to build shows around that. So asking for people's feedback, ideas, opinions, product launches, demonstrations, Q&A, all that sort of stuff. So in terms of who is it useful for, literally, okay, I hate when people usually say everybody, so I'm not going to say everyone because that's a crazy thing to say. Okay, but from the one-man person in the garage, okay, to the corporate. It really is as broad as that. Why? Because they're all people-based. And this is a people-based technology that allows, so the one-man band in the garage, okay, what are their issues? Typically, they don't get to see anybody, perhaps. They don't get to share their ideas. They can't bounce things off people. And no one gets to see how they make it. No one, you know, typically can't share the vision or the passion or the idea about why they're doing it, or they can't see it in action. You know, so for example, let's talk about some real stuff. You know, a fashion, you know, you make jewelry at home. Okay, so instead of just putting it on eBay, what about putting it live on a model in your house, doing a fashion jewelry show in your house, showing how you make it, showing it on the ears, and so on. Okay, it gives people a sense of who you are, how you've made it, the materials. You can answer questions. It gives people a sense of you. And I think at the end of the day, as I always say to people, this is social media. It's not selfish media or auto media or broadcast media. It's social media. And this is part of it. So from the one-man operation to a smaller SME, office, share the human side, share the staff, share how they make it, share the people, and so on, all the way up to the big corporates. You know, you've got, say, for example, Southwest Air on there doing a great job. What do they stream? They stream the staff showing you how they lay on barbecues for the staff, how they do the baggage, how they do behind the scenes, what you don't normally see, and all that sort of stuff, which is interesting, okay? And they're the sort of key ingredients, is that it allows you, the sort of catchphrase of Periscope is seeing stuff through other people's eyes. Okay, and that's where I'd encourage people to do that stuff. The other thing that's really emerging, which is really cool, is people are now, say for example, travel guides, tour guides. You've got stacks of them all around the world, walking around, you know, from the Italian Colosseums to the Arc de Triomphe in Paris, to Hong Kong, to, you know, London, to Berlin, you know, that's on London, Berlin, Munich, whatever, okay? Just filming and giving a commentary. So it's allowing you to see other countries, other situations and so on. But here's the most important thing. You might say, who cares? So what? Which is a great question, okay? The point is that I now know there are tour guides. I know Claire Waddington in Paris. I know you and Maestro in Paris. I know all these people who I didn't know 3 weeks ago, who if I went to Paris and wanted a guide, I'd hook up with Claire. I'd hook up with you and Maestro. So it does lead you to business, because you are demonstrating your knowledge, your expertise, you're going round, you're showing your city and all that sort of stuff. So it's brilliant for any business that wants to show the human side, behind the scenes, the vision, the passion. Imagine if you want to raise money for your business, crowdfunding. Typically, you put a video on a crowdfunder type website. Why do you put the video? You put the video to show the vision, the passion, why you're doing it, you, the human side. I get a lot of business plans coming in every day, okay? And you know what? I don't read any of them. I'm more interested in the people. Why are they doing it? What's their story? People love a good story. And Periscope allows you to share your story, which ultimately may lead people to go, you look really cool. I like why you're making your earrings. I might like to buy a pair. That's the end game, is you will sell more stuff. I call it selling without selling, just by demonstrating, talking, and showing you and showing your personality, which is exactly what Instagram, Facebook, Twitter is. It's no real different other than it's video.
Yeah. So it's kind of like, I mean, normally that whole conversation you just described there of somebody doing a scope, you know, a Periscope show or what have you, is usually something you might get across in a photo stream over a period of days or weeks or months, even on Instagram, or might be a series of blogs or something you write, you know, post your own blog to get that personality across.
Yes.
I guess the difference with those, with that medium is, anyone can come back and read those blogs anytime, whereas Periscope is much more real time. And I might be skipping ahead to one of your top tips that you might be going to share in a minute, but
okay.
We were saying before that this was Periscope keeps your scope for like 24 hours from the time you finish it or the time you start.
Yes, because when you finish it, it's automatically uploaded to Periscope, and it's there for 24 hours, and then it falls off a cliff. Okay. But I save all mine. You save to camera as well. And then I have the YouTube. I'm not that technical, so I have a YouTube app on my phone. I click a button and it just uploads it to my channel.
And then anyone can watch that
forever.
For perpetuity or whatever. Okay.
And then I can repurpose. I get the embed code and I put it wherever I want.
Okay, so that's top tip number one. That was we were going to do those in a minute, but it's top tip number one: record them and keep them. So that just stores it as a video file on your phone, and then you can choose to share it to whatever video sharing site you
Absolutely,
like.
you can put it on Facebook straight away if you want. I just put mine on YouTube.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Good. Okay. So how does one get started on Periscope? What do we need?
Okay, so to start with, you need to go to periscope.tv. That's their website. And you see two buttons at the top. One says Google Play and one says iTunes. Click on whichever phone you got, Android or iPhone. Go to the iTunes store, go to Google Play, and you just download the app. Okay, that's step one.
Okay.
What step two is, it says, have you got a Twitter account? Yes or no? And you go, yes. And then it says, I've found it. And it just says, hook me up, and you're good to go. Or you say, no. Do you want to start a Twitter account? Yes or no? Or do you want to just do it with your mobile? So they're the sort of three setting up questions, and I would encourage most people. The main benefit is the integration through Twitter. So I'd encourage you to do it through your Twitter account and have the same Twitter username as your Periscope username. Okay, that's the setup. That really is all there is to it. The rest is enable microphone, enable camera, and enable whatever the other one. Locate. That's it. That's all you need to set up. Once you've got that, what can you do as far as the app's concerned? You can have the photo. It sucks out your photo from Twitter, or you can take a new one with the camera. You have a bio. It sucks out again your bio from Twitter, or you can edit it and have a different one. I have a different one. Add some keywords in there, just like you would with Twitter. That's the setup. Seriously, it is 5 minutes. Okay. Down the bottom, there are 4 tabs essentially. One is a TV screen. That's called the tailored tab. And that allows you to watch live or the replays of people that you follow on Periscope. The next one is a globe. That's now split into 2. It has maps and it has lists. And if you click on maps, it shows you the world and it shows you all the number of people that are streaming in the different countries. You click on a number and it shows you the list of those people. Or the list is just a random list of people around the world. Okay. Button number 3 is where you broadcast. Okay, and button number 4 is the personal tab. Click that, that's where you do your profile and so on. And in the top left-hand corner, there is a search. Now, what's interesting about the search, okay, is that most people think you can only search on your Twitter username or your Periscope username or your name. No, you can search on type of work. You can search on a company name, a location. So, for example, you could put in author and London. You could put in journalist and BBC. If they've got that in their bio on Periscope, you then find those people and you can start to follow them. Okay, to be frank, we're on version 1.05. Had 5 updates on Periscope since it started. Okay, without doubt, there's still stuff that's not brilliant. I'm not going to pretend. Okay, it doesn't occasionally fall apart. But my answer would be, hands up if you remember Twitter 9 years ago when it started. Okay, I've been on it 7. Okay, you had the fail whale every 20 minutes.
Yes.
You couldn't search. You didn't have many features. It kept falling apart. But you know what? We all stuck with it, and look where it is now. Okay, so Periscope has some teething problems. It has some issues in terms of features. They just can't roll the features out quick enough. Okay, you can't schedule anything in advance. There's no landing page. So there's no periscope.com/Mark Shaw to drive people to. There's no, discovering new people to find. You can't search on language. You can't search it by category. Could you imagine if when I do a stream or a show, I put category, DIY or health and beauty, I could then maybe search on those types of shows, cooking, social media, that sort of stuff. So without doubt, the search function is very poor. Okay, but I don't think any of the reasons of things it doesn't have should stop people going, you know what, I need to have a go at this, I need to check it out. Because they're just like any new technology. It's 12 weeks old, and I think they just can't roll the stuff out quick enough that we want. We're typical users, right? We want every feature, we want everything yesterday, we want it never to fall apart and work.
Day one. Yeah.
We want it polished and we want it all working. Okay. Just to me, okay, I'm 49 years old, okay, and I say this pretty much on every show I do. I can't believe that I can be on the street talking into an iPhone case and someone in Fiji is watching me live, and can comment. That to me, take away any other features, is extraordinary. There's no buffering, it's live, the quality of the picture is incredible. Just that and nothing else is incredible.
Okay. We talked before about who should be doing what, and you mentioned kind of behind the scenes stuff. There's a few comments on Google Plus actually. Peter Lunn was just saying, scenes behind the scenes and kind of peeling back the layers of corporations and things like that work really well. I think I said to you before we came live on air. I was talking before with Nikki Creel. We did a show a while back on about Twitter. Okay. Nikki does a lot of work with people on Twitter on coaching, and I think you forget when you're using Twitter day in day out and Google Plus and any of the social platforms that you kind of get stuck in your own bubble, and you think you would just assume people know everything.
Yes.
And we were talking about this with Twitter. I'll get to my point in a minute, I promise. But we were talking about this with Twitter, and Nikki was saying, but people don't understand that. And I said, I changed your avatar, and she said, people don't know what that is. But okay, and I'm kind of like that with Periscope. Anybody who follows me on Twitter knows that I tweet an awful lot. I share quite a lot of stuff to Google Plus. I engage quite a lot on Google Plus. See, do these shows, and I'm not a shy guy. I just kind of broadcast to the world, no problem. Yes. But Periscope, I'm kind of okay. I've got my phone. I've got Periscope. I don't know what to say. So do you have a plan for a show? Do you have, like we've got today, we've got a bit of an agenda, but otherwise we're just winging it? Do you kind of go, I'll have a series, so I'll do one every day, every week, every morning with my coffee? Okay. What would you suggest for somebody?
So
the first show, what should I do?
Okay, so the first thing is to recognize that you need to do at least one show every 24 hours. Okay.
Really?
And the reason for that is that when I turn up at your profile and it says recent broadcast 0, I can't then see you in action. I probably won't follow you because they fall off after 24 hours. Okay. In terms of the shows, okay, most of my shows, bar the ones where I say who's up for a chat, take those to one side. The rest of my shows are not winged. I know exactly what the content of the show is. I have the bullet points in front of me of what I want to talk about. I know what I'm going to say, and so on. So it's planned. I know what that show's all about, and so on. The third thing is that for people who are nervous about doing a first show, there's a very easy way to practice. Okay, what you don't want to do is a public. You see a lot of people going test, test, test. Don't do that. Okay, when you go and do a show, and there's an icon, the third one is a broadcast show. It says, what are you seeing? Under that, there are 4 little icons. First one is location. Next one is a padlock. Hit the padlock, and the padlock allows you to do a private show to people that are following you on Periscope. So that could be, so I would suggest it's your mum, your next door neighbor, your auntie, someone you know, okay, and you invite one person to the show. They can comment, you do your show, you get used to the light, the sound, saying stuff, talking into a phone and all that sort of stuff. But then afterwards, no one publicly can see it, no one can share it, no one can do anything with it, and you can have a conflab in the kitchen about how you did. So that can get you over the nerves and stuff. In terms of what do you say, though, my advice would be very simple. Find something that you're passionate about, that you're interested in. The other thing worth saying is that, me personally, I put my hand up and say, I wish I could have got on Twitter 5 minutes after it started. I wish I could have got on Facebook 5 minutes after it started, and all the other platforms, okay? Because we now know where they are.
Money in Facebook 5 minutes after it started.
Exactly, okay. So we are now all, although it's 12 weeks old, we are now all at the very beginning of Periscope, okay? It is crying out for people, I call it the verticals, okay? In health, travel, business tips, finance, you name a vertical, it's crying out for people to grab the vertical and start showing up on a regular basis, sharing advice, sharing tips, answering questions, just like they would on Twitter, okay? But because it's so new, they can start to grow an audience, start to grow a following, okay? I'm not saying there is any money in Periscope today or tomorrow or next week. What I am saying to you, though, is that if you build a following, okay, then in time, that following can be monetized through a course, a webinar, a video, a DVD, whatever you're doing, okay? But it is crying out for people who have a niche. So the first thing I would start to think about is, what's your niche? What are you passionate about? What are you interested in? What can you talk all day? And you know what? That niche may be not what your day job is. You might have a day job as social media person. Niche could be on Star Trek, Star Wars, whatever. Okay? Start showing up on a regular basis on what you're passionate about. It might be what your work is. It might not be. Okay? And just start showing up, having some fun with it, practicing your shows, seeing how it goes, because the only way you're going to really get into this is to start doing it. Yeah, you get the odd idiot who turns up just like on Twitter, but it's very easy to block them, so you shouldn't worry about that, and just get used to it. And for some people, they're really going to enjoy it. Some people go, oh no, it's not for me, which is cool. Nothing wrong with that. Not all social media is for everybody. Doesn't mean you're a bad person. Okay, and have some fun. I always take the view, if you can't have fun, if you think it's like, oh my God, I've got to do a show, and you're sweating and you're nervous and like, it's not for you. I love doing the shows. I do 20 a day, but it's too many. I like doing it. Okay, so if you enjoy that sort of stuff, brilliant. And I think finally, the thing to remember, and the thing that I would advise, is give your best advice, your best tips, support people, help people, answer questions. The more you help other people achieve what they want, the more referrals, recommendations you get. And finally, I've had more people coming at me for business, calls, emails, real money, consultancy in the last 9 weeks than I've had probably in 5 years on Twitter. Okay, yeah, I built up the reputation and the credibility, but just more interest. For some reason, people are going, oh my God, we need to find Mark, we need to hook up. I've done more webinars, more podcasts, more calls about speaking and all sorts from just being on the Periscope. So it's an awesome business tool. Although, if you watch my show, I never once sell anything. You never see me buy my course, buy my webinar. Not that I've got a webinar course, but buy anything. That's not how you do any form of social media.
Sure. I mean, we would always advocate there's a careful balance with that, and there's a very low percentage of the time that you should be selling on there at all. So yeah, even in kind of balance of stuff you're tweeting or sharing on Google Plus or what have you as well. So couldn't agree with you more on there, Mark. Absolutely. So you've mentioned a few kind of common mistakes. You got any howlers you've seen?
Okay, so not really howlers, but mistake number one is you need to remember, just because people are following you on Twitter does not mean they're following you on Periscope. You need to grow your audience on Periscope, which is challenging, don't get me wrong, okay? But as I was saying, you've got to hustle, you've got to be committed to this, okay? So it's not an easy, there is no button on Twitter that says you instantly follow me on Periscope now. There is no follow me on Periscope button on Twitter yet. Okay, you just have to tell people on all the platforms you are now on Periscope, come and follow you over there. So put it in your email, your newsletter, webinar, whatever you're doing. That's the first mistake people make. The second is they have the good old-fashioned egg as their photo. No one's going to check out your show if you have the egg. Okay, no bio. No one's going to check you out with no bio. The fourth thing, if that was the fourth thing, okay, is when they do a show. When I joined 10, 11 weeks ago, whenever, okay, there weren't many people on the platform in comparative, internet world, okay? So you didn't really need to put a headline, or you could put a lazy headline. People would show up because there just wasn't that much stuff. Move on 12 weeks, okay? There, I don't know, 3 million people on there now, or whatever, okay? No one's going to show up for your show if you do no headline, unless you're Oprah Winfrey or a famous rock star, okay? So you have to do a headline, is a howling mistake. And the final mistake is the headline needs to incorporate some keywords. It needs to be a sexy headline. It needs to make you want to stop and watch your show. I call it Battle of the Eyeballs. Okay, when no one's around, you can pretty much put anything, people will show up. When you're battling against other people who are doing shows, which we all are, at the same time globally, although people are getting the notifications as a WhatsApp type message, okay, what's going to make someone go, oh, I want to watch that and not watch that? Typically, it's your headline. Okay, it's a bit like email marketing. I'm sure you tell people, you have the greatest newsletter, but if your subject line of your email is rubbish, no one's going to open it. It's the same thing. Okay, so get the headline sexy, interesting, show-stopping, use some great words in there, add some trending hashtags, popular hashtags, to encourage people to come and watch your show. And I think finally, the idea that, you know, unfortunately, there's a lot of people still on there, you know, on the couch, having a drink, let's have a chat, haven't really got where it's going. And that to me is where the opportunity is for so many people. It's crying out, as I said, you know, they're missing the whole integration with Twitter. They're missing, you know, I had someone say to me, oh, it's a real shame about this Periscope. I've got to join Twitter. That's when you had to, okay? And I'm like, no, that's the biggest reason. Can you imagine, and I'm sure it's coming, when the Periscope video will be in the Twitter stream of your followers? Not the link, but the actual show. That's got to be coming. Okay, because they own Vine, Vine videos are in there. They own Periscope, Periscope videos will be in there. That will be a game changer. So you don't have to go anywhere.
Mark, sorry, did I see, I'm sure I read something the other day that Twitter had kind of live video broadcasting within Twitter already. I mean, is that?
Yeah, they allow video. They allow
can you live stream like you can with from Periscope within Twitter?
No,
can you just literally go compose a tweet video right now?
Tweets out the link to where your show is on Periscope.
Right, okay.
But you can upload video to Twitter. Okay,
so it's natively hosted with Twitter rather than a link to a YouTube video or a Vimeo video or whatever.
Yeah, well, for Twitter, what they want is to stop people going, oh, watch a video off to YouTube, watch a video off to Vimeo, watch a Vine off to Vine. They want everyone to stay on their platform.
Yeah,
so what I'm saying is, not today, not tomorrow, but it's coming. It's got to be. The Scope video live stream will be in your stream if you follow me. Okay, so there's stuff coming that's going to make this incredibly powerful that you're not even going to have to go anywhere else. So they're probably the 5 biggest mistakes people have made. And I suppose the final mistake is people are still using it as a broadcast station, not a communication channel. Okay, so what do I mean? I mean, they're just on their soapbox. They're not replying to any comments. They don't listen to anyone. They don't take on board any feedback coming back. And as I said, unless you're Oprah Winfrey or a major celebrity like Floyd Mayweather, who doesn't need to do that, the rest of us, it's social media for a reason. And that's probably the biggest mistake that people make. But that's no different to Twitter, Facebook, all those other things where people basically ignore all the replies.
Okay. So I was going to ask you for some top tips, but I think you shared so many that we probably don't need to do that now, Mark.
Well,
are there any that you've missed off? That maybe 1 or 2 that are kind of top tips.
Well, I think in the sense that 1, you need to start telling everyone on the different platforms that you're on Periscope. That would probably be one of my biggest things. Okay. Blog, web, everything you do, tell people that you're over there. 2, look professional like you do on Twitter and all the other places. Good photo, edit your bio. As I said, you can search on keywords in your bio on Periscope, so make sure you have that. 3, when you're doing a show, good headline, sexy headline for want of a better word. Okay. 4, make sure that your show, so here's what a lot of people do. They do the old headline, which is naked girls in sauna. Okay, and of course you get there and it's a guy on the Xbox. Okay, all right, don't do things like that. Okay, you can get away with that once and then you lose all your credibility and people think you're an idiot. So don't try and do shortcuts. Don't try and deceive people with a headline that's not congruent with what you're talking about. Okay, and finally, just keep showing up. You know, my first show, I got 1 person show up. Okay. Because the other thing to remember is that when you do your show, you get a count of how many people from the app are watching you live. But you don't know immediately how many people are watching you on the web. You could have hundreds of people on the web watching you, okay? So there's this sense of, you see people, they start the broadcast and then they just sit there watching their phone like this, waiting for someone to show up, okay? Even though they've started, well, there may already be 500 people on the web who are watching you. So hit start, you start, okay? Because you don't know how many people are watching. And finally remember that people can watch. I get an awful lot of people watching my stuff as a replay. So remember that people can watch it as a replay as well. And finally, they only introduced it last Thursday with a new update, is people can now share your replay on Twitter. Okay, so
awesome. Okay.
So suddenly, okay, so there's two things about Periscope, okay, and I've been saying this for some time. You have a share the broadcast button, okay? When you're watching someone, you scroll right, you get some functionality, and it says share broadcast, okay? Nobody shares the broadcast. And the reason why they don't share the broadcast is, why would anyone share something? They don't know what you're going to say, how long you're going to be on for, you might be a complete idiot, and all the rest of it. And if they're sharing it with their Periscope followers and you're rubbish, it's going to backfire on them, not on you. Okay, so nobody shares the broadcast, okay, unless you're a celebrity. What's better now is at the end to say share the replay, because now people have seen it, they've seen the great tips, they know you're okay, you're cool, you won't embarrass them, and now they can just click on the link, they can edit the text and then tweet it out that they've watched the show. So, and that going through Twitter, they may have one Periscope follower, they may have thousands of Twitter followers. And so that again goes back to this whole Twitter integration. That's why this thing is so powerful. It's not a standalone app. It's combined with a Twitter universe of 500 million people. Okay, that's why this thing is so huge, because whatever you do over here will be integrated into a room over here, which is massive. And we're only 12 weeks old. Wait till you see some of the new stuff that's coming.
Yeah, I'm sure that's going to be awesome. So before we get on to our last question, we do these every couple of weeks. Generally, we missed one 2 weeks ago. Long story, I won't bore you with. But head over to YouTube if you're watching this on Google Plus. Just subscribe to us there. You can catch more of these every 2 weeks, and they're all about digital marketing, new platforms like we're talking about with Mark, Google Plus stuff, Google AdWords stuff, Twitter stuff, analytics, user experience, you name it, more about getting more leads, more sales through your website. So that's what this show is all about every couple of weeks, and generally me having a cup of tea and a bit of a chat. So do ask us questions, and we'll monitor those in the comments afterwards, and we'll try and get to those anyway. But make sure you subscribe for future videos. So the last question, Mark, which it's a big one, and it's a kind of hypothetical one and very much theory. Where do you think this is going? Apart from, you mentioned the integration with Twitter, which I'm sure will happen much more so. Where do you think the end game is? Where does this go for Twitter?
Well, okay, so without doubt, the technology now has caught up to a place where it's very easy to do live streaming, and it will only get easier. We're on iPhone 6, there'll be iPhone 7, be 4G, there'll be 5G, Wi-Fi will get better and faster. So that, I think, will just increase people's abilities to do this stuff. Secondly, we are now used to, as a society, of using a mobile for just about everything, getting video content on your mobile. That's not alien. So I think we're all going to become journalists. We're all going to be live streaming from issues, from problems, from earthquakes, from crashes, buildings on fire, all sorts of things. You already see it with the news. You already see a lot of the Sky people using Periscope and so on. So we're all journalists now. We all have the ability to live stream all sorts of things. And personally, I think it would just become the norm. I think, which raises issues. Don't get me wrong, okay? This is a Pandora's box. What happens when the guy or the girl is live streaming, their child in the Christmas show for the grandparents in another country? What happens then, okay? We've already had people streaming the Manny Pacquiao fight. Okay, at ringside, Rosette streaming it. We've had people streaming Game of Thrones for their lounge. Okay, all sorts of things. Okay, now Periscope clearly have T's and C's. There are copyright laws. There are decency laws around pornography and all sorts of things. But it opens up a box, and it's open now. Okay, and you're going to see, what happens. God forbid, ISIS do a beheading on Periscope. You're going to see some horrible stuff, some not so nice stuff, but it's opened up a box, allowing people to not just tweet what they can see now. Because one of the problems, say, for journalists is, how did they know the story was real? You weren't just making it up. Well, now I can be there live streaming it. Okay, so huge opportunity for everybody, but also another game changer for businesses. Instead of just being in a business having a rant about bad customer service, I can be filming myself with them, talking to them. Okay, so another game changer for corporations, businesses. There's a lot already saying no live streaming, no filming in here, all sorts of things. So I think over the next few years, you'll see there'll be a big test case, I'm sure, big legal thing where someone's done something and there'll be a big, oh my God moment. You'll see more and more people using the technology, getting to grips with it, understanding how useful it is and so on. And let's see, you know, what's down the line from there. I've no idea, you know, what happens with Meerkat in terms of maybe Facebook or Google, I don't know. But certainly the whole live streaming thing, in my view, is here to stay. And I'd encourage everyone at least to try it. You can watch live streams. You don't have to stream yourself, okay? Watch corporations, watch businesses, watch personalities, watch other people that you know, and see if it's for you, and maybe give it a go.
Okay, excellent stuff. And where can people find you, Mark, if they want to ask you some questions?
You can find me. I'm on Twitter @MarkShaw. I'm on Periscope @MarkShaw, and I have a website, markshaw.biz, B-I-Z.
Okay, and if you want to watch my first Periscope, when I get around to doing one, challenge me. Come on, people, ask in the comments or something. Just challenge me to do something. I'll kind of do it tomorrow. But yeah, maybe I'll just do a kind of evening thing, end of day thing, and going, these are the things I've been asked today. These are the answers. Maybe I'll just get a ton of stuff through social media, through email or whatever. Maybe I'll just do one of those. But yeah, I think the difficulty will be getting that habit of doing something every day, because that's quite a commitment. You know, doing one of these every 2 weeks is obviously, there's a lot of kind of work that goes into kind of scheduling it and you know, putting the questions and getting a guest and everything. It's quite a lot of work, you know, organising stuff. I mean, you and I have probably chatted back and forth about 3 or 4 times at least about, you know, what we can talk about and trying to get the tech sorted out and making sure your camera's working. So yeah, but yeah, maybe I'll do one a bit later, and we'll I'll just do a live thing. So if anybody wants me to answer a question in my first Periscope, my first scope, I'm at Tillison there and on Twitter. I think generally if you type Tillison into Google, you'll just find me everywhere. It's luckily not. I mean, it's a slightly more irregular name than Mark Shaw. I'm sure there are a million of those. So I'm quite lucky in that respect. No problem. Mark, thanks ever so much. It's been really great. Guys, make sure you subscribe for more videos in future. And thanks again, Mark. Enjoy the rest of your tea.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me, Mark.
No problem. I'll see you on Periscope.
Yes, thank you, everybody. Yeah, please do. Thank you, everybody.